Hello everybody, I'm Bruce Rabuffo and I'm the chairman of the Hingham Board of Selectmen. I'd like to welcome you to the latest version of On the Issues. This show, as you know, tries to address issues or matters that are of concern to the citizens of Hingham, have been expressed to the advisory committee or other boards and committees in the town. It's a view as expressed by me, not entirely reflective of the Board of Selectmen, but it gives you a flavor of the issues that we've been dealing with. Today's broadcast will focus on an upcoming event that begins April 28th and probably will continue till April 29th, our annual town meeting. Hopefully, by now, most of you have received this booklet. It's the Warrant Articles. It contains the 37 warrants that will be up for discussion at the town meeting. I do not intend to go through all of them today, but there have been some that I think you will find of particular interest. So if you'll permit me, let me begin with the warrants. You know, traditionally, the first few warrant articles deal with matters of a traditional nature, such as the Whiting Fund, and then we progress through Article 6, which is the budget. This article is in some detail where the way the moderator has practiced and handled it is to allow us to hear the numbers, and then if we don't understand them or want to have more information about it, we can put the article on hold. Once that is done, then we start to go on to the issues that we're facing this year. The first one, I think, and you'll see this in Articles 7, 8, and 9, deals with tax relief. And it's a little unique issue this year, the way we're handling tax relief. We decided, and it was approved both by the unanimous vote of the Board of Selectmen and the Advisory Committee, to take the monies that have come from the meal tax. Now, you may recall some years ago, we put aside some monies from a meals tax fund generated by 0.75% of your meal tax bill on restaurants here in the town of Hingham, and put it into a stabilization fund. This year, we decided to withdraw some of that money as an offset to the tax burden that you all have to live with. We felt it was a way to generate some relief for you so that in this uncertain economy that we continue to live in, you'll get some of the relief from the burdens that you have as you try to enjoy the benefits of living in the town of Hingham, but also want to make sure that we provide the services to you. There's a couple of articles that will deal with that to make sure that the meal tax money goes where it should go, back to you. The reason for that is about 67% of meal tax money doesn't come from citizens of Hingham. It comes from the people who come to visit Hingham and enjoy some of our many restaurants. So it's a benefit that you get the benefit of because you not only support those restaurants, but also because they're here in Hingham and they help generate revenue for us all. Following that discussion, we'll have some equipment purchases. Most importantly, those purchases deal with the fire department and with the DPW. The fire department purchases are the replacement of 2 fire engines, a considerable cost to the town, but from an analysis we did in the fire department and with the assistance of a fire asset study committee, we determined that the age has been exceeded for their operation, and therefore they need to be replaced. They're expensive replacements, that's for sure, over $1 million in total expense for us. So, but it's necessary for us in order to sustain and maintain the fire safety codes and fire provision that we have within the town of Hingham. The DPW is looking for some additional motorized equipment for lawnmowers and other assets that will enable them to more productively perform their jobs. As we progress through the warrant, one of the issues that will come up is one that we have been discussing, sadly, for a long time. In 1937, a citizen of the town of Hingham, Herbert L. Foss, passed away. He worked at the time for the Fort Hill Cemetery. which is now part of the town of Hingham, but back then was a private enterprise. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor for a deed he performed in the Spanish-American War. He passed away in 1937, and Hingham has been deliberating over that long period for a special way in which to commemorate him. There has been much debate about what is that best way. As you may know, some of our neighboring towns have decided to name schools after their Medal of Honor winner. We have decided not to do that, and this has been the collective decision of those involved in the process. After much debate, the advisory committee, in a joint session with the Board of Selectmen, came up with a proposal that sets aside a piece of land on the harbor, not the whole harbor, but a good section of the harbor that we will call the Medal of Honor Park. And on that spot of land, we will locate a memorial to Seaman Foss, a memorial to be designed and approved by the Board of Selectmen over the next 1 or 2 years. In addition, there has been some discussion about the potential for other Medal of Honor winners who have either temporarily resided here or for, unfortunately, and hopefully not, but perhaps future Medal of Honor winners that we'd like to also commemorate in the Medal of Honor Park. And that also will be on the ballot for you to support. It's not an expensive amount of money. It's a $40,000 investment by the town, but more importantly, it's an opportunity to get it started through a public-private donation process that will allow us to commemorate someone who did so much, not only for the town of Hingham, but so much for our country. And I am happy to report that we have finally gotten to celebrate his meritorious service. Once we move along, we'll have issues on something new for us that some other towns have already decided to do. It's called electronic voting. Electronic voting is bringing us, if you will, into the 21st century. The idea has been, as you know, that is there a faster way that we could do ballots so that people would have an opportunity to express their vote almost as you do in the voting booth, privately, without fear of intimidation. So that's its major benefit that has been put forth. Could we do a trial for electronic voting, perhaps at the next town meeting, if the monies needed to do it are voted by you, and if the price that we are able to find is correct? There are a number of issues concerning electronic voting. It is an expensive solution to a problem that we traditionally have handled, quite frankly, by voice vote, and if we're not satisfied, by standing vote, and then if we're still not satisfied with the outcome, we do it by ballot vote. This would accelerate that process, is the hope. Other towns have experimented with this, and it is something that it's certainly worthy of consideration. It is expensive, and that's probably the major reason why some people are reluctant to proceed with it, because some people feel it's our right and our duty to stand up and be counted, as we do today in both the voice vote and the ballot vote and the standing votes. So that's another issue that you'll have to deal with. The last issue that I'd like to bring to your attention, it's earlier on in the discussion, but it's important, and it's probably the most significant issue we face as a town at this town meeting. It's the continuation of the funding to determine the price for the water company. Now, if you permit me, I'd like to just recap for a moment. This is a process that started in the early months or the late months, of 2011, where many of our citizens were upset with the number of water main breaks and the high costs of getting water to us. We pay over almost $950 for the average household the average enterprise in the town of Hingham. And let me explain how we got that number. $12 million is the revenue that the Aquarian Water Company receives, not only from Hingham, but from the towns of Hull and a small portion of Cohasset. There are, in those three towns, 12,700 connections. If you divide one number into the other, you get a $950 average payment in 2014. Many of you don't pay that high, but collectively that's the average price for all of those 12,000 plus connections. The purpose of the study has been, can we find a way in which the town of Hingham, and collectively with Hull and Cohasset, operate and own our own water company? Why do we want to do that? The issue at hand is very simple. It's our water. Very simply, it's our water. 96% of the people who live in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts get their water from a public company. There are only about 14 towns, or roughly 14 communities, I should say, that get their water from a private firm. We are one of those. Of our AAA rated towns, and there are 14 of those as well, only the small section of the town of Dover has a private water company under their jurisdiction, or I should say under the state's jurisdiction, but operating in their confines of their town. So most of the AAA rated towns also get their water from public companies. So those are two generic reasons why we should certainly continue to look at this. But looking at this doesn't mean we're going to buy it. That is important for everyone to comprehend. To do this work, we need to go to court, which is where we are, and we are in the Suffolk County Supreme Court, the business litigation section. These are the folks who deal with complex business matters, which this is. And we hope to get a favorable decision from that court over the next few months. But to do that, that involves some expenditures on our part. We have to pay for lawyers, and we have to pay for expert witnesses to determine whether or not our price valuation is the correct price for the purchase of the company. Aquarian has put forth a number, and they have not changed it, of $184.5 million. That is based on their interpretation of the 1879 statute. Our interpretation, based on internal analysis and 2 outside experts so far, says that the price we should pay is between 50 and 60 million. But because of this disagreement, their 184 and our 50 to 60, we've decided to go to court to get an evaluation set by the court. And the judge, and perhaps even a trial by jury, may be necessary to get that determination. We think it's in the best interest of the future of the town to control our own water. The study committee that has been working on this, consisting of 4 advisory chairmen plus the head of our sewer commission, these are people who understand well the value of an asset, and that's why they've been able to bring their independent thinking to this matter. It took them some time to get to this place, but we are at the place now where we're at a critical juncture. If we want to concede with the court this deliberation, we need this $475,000. This is not on the taxpayer's back. It is the intent that this money will be repaid not only by the ratepayers in the 3 towns, but also it will be reimbursed once the determination is to proceed with the purchase of the water company. That's important to note. The risk for you in this issue is, do you want to put the money up to proceed and determine, should we determine the price so we could purchase the water company? I personally think this is a valuable decision for you to make, an important decision for us to proceed. Water is one of our future assets that many people are now comparing to gold. So I would hope that you would all consider favorably the unanimous recommendation of the Board of Selectmen, the unanimous recommendation of the Advisory Committee to proceed with this money, the funding of this money, to determine the price in the court. Why is this water company determination important to you? Why is that? Why are we so many of us concerned about proceeding in this direction to examine? Our analysis, as I mentioned, says the price should be between $50 and $60 million. What is the personal benefit to every household? As I mentioned, there's 12,700 connections, and our estimates at the $50 million range would say that the average annual potential savings to you is $253 per household. That's a significant amount of money. If the price rises to $60 million, it's still $204 in savings. Now, what does that mean, that savings? We'll be able to do a number of things with that. That $253 can go back to you as the ratepayer. It can go used to be invest in repairing the pipes, which is one of our major issues for wanting to do this, because we believe that Aquarian hasn't done the job that they are required to do to keep the pipes in great shape. Or we can do additional items to protect our watershed and our environment. A considerable amount of our water that we use doesn't go back in the ground. It flows its way into Boston Harbor, which is great for Boston Harbor, but it's not so great for us. So there's a personal and an environmental issue that I would ask you to weigh. That dollar savings that you'll be under the ability to control, and the environmental benefits that we may get from that. There has been some discussion about, well, what's the structure that's going to manage this enterprise if it's established? Well, we have a temporary understanding with the other towns, and I say temporary because nobody has officially voted for it. Our understanding is that we would have to have a collective way to manage those 12,700 connections, and we have a draft of a discussion as to how that would be. The draft says what is common we'll all pay for, and what is unique to each town will be controlled by their towns. That we think puts the control of this important asset right where it should be at the local level. So add this to your deliberations. These are important considerations, and we hope that you'll give it a positive vote. Finally, on a mixed note of both happy to have served you, but sad to be leaving the ability to continue to serve you, I announced that I am retiring effective with the next election that occurs on May 3rd. So I hope you all get out to vote for the candidates of your choice to replace me, John Asher or Paul Gannon. And I would hope that you give them the same careful deliberation in your selection, and more importantly, no matter who wins, that you give them your hearty endorsement and support as they take on this responsibility. I have had the pleasure of serving you. I've met so many new people that I did not know before I was a selectman, and I've truly come to learn the value of having selectmen run the town of Hingham. This has been our form of government since the town became an entity in 1635, long before there was an America, long before there was a town of Hingham as we know it today. The form of government that we have is selectmen with an open town meeting. It has evolved over time, both in structure and in duties, but it's been a pleasure to have followed so many capable people who preceded me, and I'm sure there will be many capable people who will follow me. But I have to tell you, these are going to be memories that I have that I'll treasure. It's been a great experience, and I encourage any of you who have the energy or the time, and more importantly, the devotion to this great town, to continue to serve it in some way, maybe not as a selectman, but as one of them, as so many of our neighbors do, serve as volunteers. For me, I'll be around, I'll be watching, and I'll be making sure that we continue to stay the course, and I'll support you all in the efforts that you enable yourselves to take in the future years. But thank you personally, on behalf of my wife and myself, for the service you've allowed me to give.